Hello, everyone. Welcome to the episode three now. Oh my God, it's already the third one of Magnetic Minds. My name is Anna Sutton, and I'm the CEO and founder of the House of Cornucopia. And today, the House of Cornucopia and Magnetic Minds are hosting another beautiful soul, that beautiful lady inside out. She's called Georgette Van Vliet, and she's based in the US. Is it in New York you are?
I'm in New Jersey. I'm like
In New
10
York.
minutes from New York City.
Well, there you go.
I'm close enough.
Thank you so much for being here. So, Georgette is a law of attraction and mindset coach. She's doing a lot of that beautiful work in impacting a lot of people's lives. She is a public speaker. She is an author of many, many interesting books, and she is also an educator. So, I'm so grateful to have you here and another dear guest. I'm just so privileged to have, people like yourself here with me. And yeah, obviously, what I would like to talk about is one of the books, amazing books that you shared with me. I think it's quite a long title, but it's about scripting. To manifest love and abundance, is it? Can you?
Yes, manifest love, joy, and abundance.
Oh, love, joy, and abundance. What else are you
What
wishing
else
for?
is there, right, besides love, joy, and abundance?
Nothing.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And love, and I just love how you put it at the very beginning, because that's all that we need.
mhm.
Love, and love, like, for obviously in all shapes and stories and sides, everything that is basically we're here for, I think. Right? So what is that
Absolutely.
book about in particular, Georgette?
So just before I start, I wanted to say it's funny you picked up on that because the reason I put the word love first is without love, it doesn't matter if you have abundance. It doesn't really matter because without, love is definitely the primary, human, desire, and it makes life so worth living. So we want to feel loved, right? So the book
Absolutely.
so the book is it's a law of attraction book, Master the Law of Attraction, and I wrote it because I used to be very depressed and very very anxious. And when I was studying the law of attraction many many years ago, I in that depressed state, I remember like feeling like, why am I not manifesting anything? And I realized that with law of attraction and positive attracts positive, right? I needed to get out of my funk. And when I thought about that, I realized I had to let go of a lot. I had to forgive myself for my past. I had to forgive my family and some relatives about things that were very detrimental that happened in the past. There was a lot of baggage that I had to let go. So I started scripting about it, and I was really able to like let go of a lot of my negativity. And I got so inspired that I put all of the journaling practices into a book to help others, like releasing your inner critic, understanding what the resistance and blocks are that we put up in our lives. And so it's a lot about journaling it, getting it out, and then letting it go.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And like you said, you were thinking, why are those good things not coming to your life? Why are you not observing them? And the law of attraction is basically, it's literally the like attracts the like, right?
Mhm.
So if we procrastinate, if we think we're not good enough, if the world is not good enough, if things are so unfair, things like in terms of self-forgiveness is that, oh, why did I do this?
Mhm.
Well, obviously, well, a lot of people say, why didn't I go and start a new business? Or
Mhm.
why did I stay in that job for a long time? Why didn't I get out of that toxic relationship? If we're talking about, attracting that amazing soulmate that you would be able to create a beautiful life and a family. I would say that frankly, it's when I find myself, and I used to, in thinking, why didn't I make this decision before? Why
Mhm.
haven't I done this before? But then I would just think, well, first of all, I don't want to criticize myself for that. And why? Because I always thought that at that time, that decision was just the right one.
Mhm.
At
So
at
true.
that time, that was my mindset. At that time was my let's say perception of what is happening, perception of myself. But like you said, all that negativity to release that, it's actually a very, very hard work. A lot of
Oh,
people are
yes.
still carrying that, right? Throughout their entire lives. They may have children, grandchildren, great grandchildren, and still carry that. So it's a big thing. And I'm so, so happy that you did the also the practical side of things, helping people that the how to bit, which is like the most important thing, because
Sure.
that's a big job.
Yeah, and I think that it's a part that people don't realize has to happen. That if, like you were just saying, I call it the debris of life. Like it's like an accident on a highway, and there's parts of cars everywhere. Like if we don't clean that up, you can't fly on that highway. And it's the same thing with our mindset, right? Like if we're carrying all this anger, resentment, bitterness, it's blocking us from moving forward. And it's so simple, yet you have to do the work. And I believe you've got to do the work every day. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't do this work on myself, like to check in, like what's happening, why am I feeling depressed or sad? But you
Mhm.
also brought up a really good point, and it comes up a lot in my coaching. People have so many regrets, like why did I wait? Why didn't I? And we can't live our lives like that. I always think of it as we're creating a path today. Like you're going to start today moving forward. What are you creating going forward? It's all up to you. And that's exciting. So when you think about your past, right, it gets sad. There's a lot of regret. But when you think about you can control your future, it's very exciting to look at life that way.
Oh my God, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And the excitement, I think it's a big part of it because the secret really is I mean, how can we even forgive ourselves or forgive people who did some harm, who hurt us, or any other decisions that we kind of regret about making them? And I think it's just all about really that great thing, and it is really great self-love. And it all starts with that because, like you said, you're doing this every day. So there are people who would be just, oh, okay, then, you know what, I'll start doing what I wanted to do tomorrow or on Monday or another day, or even worse, when I will become more educated, when I will get, I don't know, more followers on Instagram or Facebook or what's
Thinner, right?
exactly. And it will
Yeah.
just never happen because always tomorrow is now at this point in time. But I think what really plays an important role here is loving yourself at any stage, not when you have a lot of money on your bank account, not meant like I said, you have those followers and your business is thriving or your career is booming and everything. But like as of today, because that's where it starts, right? The whole thing, the excitement, the looking forward for things, the doing it, and the wanting to do things. That's just such a big topic that you explored. It's amazing.
And for me, one of the greatest things, and it's in the book, but I'd love to share this with you, is I make a T chart, right? Like a T. And on one side, you write all the reasons why you're so mad at yourself, your self-loathing, whatever it may be. But then when you look at it and you like, for me, this was a huge realization. Like, and I thought about all the things I've done well. Like, just when you're an educator and you've affected so many children and you've done so many great things, like, I just, I had to learn to step into my greatness there instead of focusing on the mistakes that I made as a
Mhm.
child or a teenager. Look at all the wonderful things you've done as an adult when you were completely intentional about how you live your life. So it's interesting when we think about self-love to think about why we beat ourselves up, but then to really stop and say, well, what do I do well? And just acknowledge all the things you've done, and we all have all the beauty that we've brought into the world that we just go, that's no big deal, but it is a big deal. That is really a part of self-love.
Absolutely. And what you said there was in terms of rather than looking what went wrong, actually what the amazing things I've done, right? That I don't know, I woke up at the time when it was really dark and I just did go for, to do things that I thought I needed to do. Or that time when I was brave enough to maybe, stand up for my own whatever beliefs, and there are so many, obviously, there can be so many um, examples and etc. And even when it goes wrong, I think the perspective here is even better because you can just think, well, now I know what went wrong. Now I know how not to do that.
Right.
It's actually like beautiful awareness that can be used, and it's a completely different energy. I love that, absolutely.
I love, I'm wiser. I love that. I'm wiser, right? I'm stronger and I'm wiser every day. That's a beautiful place to step into, to think about, how you've grown and how smart you've become from all of your experiences. I think too, just quickly, my parents were both lived through the occupation of, in Greece during World War II. They lived during that through the occupation. So when they moved to America, they were both damaged, and they both were just it was a difficult childhood. And my brother
Yeah.
ended up dying of a drug overdose. Like we had a lot of trauma in our family. But when I look at that now, I'm like, I am so tough. I overcame it, and I am so successful and such an incredible role model for children. It's really like unbelievable to think about what I've accomplished considering what my family went through and what I had to go through and how traumatic it was. So it's just I think a lot of us don't acknowledge that. Like you overcame everything, whatever happened, you were tough enough, you were strong enough to overcome. And that's self-love too. We have to look at that as
Mm.
self-love.
Yeah, well, that's where difficulty comes in because as soon as something doesn't go in the way that would love it to go, we just think, oh, well, there you go. I knew that will happen.
Mhm.
I knew that I wasn't good enough for that, or I wasn't just cut out for that. I knew people will criticize rather than, um, well, I tried. Yes, I'm still not there where I would like to be. Pardon me, but this is something that um, about really not giving up and
Mhm.
just
Never.
going and just believing I absolutely deserve that and I will get there and that consistency. But like we established, it's again all based on self-acceptance and self-love. And that really healthy part of our ego when we think, right, so that's for me. And I met a lot of people who come even to to my courses and to my coaching programs. And I would tell you, I think for today in the modern world, the lack of self-love
Yeah.
is just like a plague. It's just so there. And it also in relation even to people who have achieved a lot of things financially in terms of their profession, occupation, and everything else. But there still would be something that will be holding them back. So when we talk about, oh, do you know what? Think grander things, dream bigger, wish for like much, much bigger things. That's when it really holds them back
But
because they're
also, that also is
uncomfortable.
part of the problem, right? Because it's never enough. So when is it ever enough where you can stop and just say, I feel so good right now about what I've
Yeah,
accomplished, or it's always like a financial gain, right? Like we don't look at success
yeah,
in this society. We look at success as if you're a billionaire, great, but that's not necessarily always the marker, right? And I think that's where a lot of people trip up and don't love themselves, because how could you ever, when you're comparing yourself to a billionaire, or when you're comparing yourself to somebody who lives in a penthouse on Fifth Avenue and you don't have that, wow, is there a gap, right? So you're not appreciating your gifts and what you give to the world because you're measuring yourself from what you see on Instagram or
yeah,
and that's hard, and like
it
that's not
is.
easy for anybody at any age to
No, not at all.
yeah.
And the way that I even talk to my daughter, like for example, if somebody that she sees like somebody has got something, and at that moment, for example, you may not have something like that. So you just go like, wow, look at that. Good for them.
Yes.
Now I know it's possible. It's possible for me. So it's again from that energy and perspective of the possibility for myself rather than, oh, no, 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 it's not for me. It's just them because they're rich, because they're this and that. It's absolutely the opposite energy that brings all these things to life. And then you start being able to observe them and everything else. I think
And
that's just
also,
such a beautiful message.
I'm sorry. Also, there's the other part of it too. Like I adore like Martha Stewart and I adore like Ina Gardner. I really think they're amazing female entrepreneurs. And I would love to be like them, but not really because I am not willing to give up that much of my time. Like realistically, when you look at what they've done, I could do that, but my raising my son came first. Some things in my home came, like I had different priorities. No one's right or wrong, but I think that's the other part that we don't acknowledge. When you look at someone, you go, wow. But then you've got to look and say, be honest with yourself, would I be willing to do what they did? And if
Yeah.
you say no, that should be okay with you too, that not all of us are destined to have that kind of energy or that drive. We can admire it, but we may not be able to match it. And that's also something that I think we have to be okay with and say, I accept myself for who I am.
Yeah, absolutely. I accept myself for who I am. Plus, I'll never be able to do Martha Stewart. I mean, she's been there forever, right? I remember her since my childhood, like it's all there. But
And
it's more like about doing you and
right.
being you. And I will do other things, grand things, amazing and impressive and everything else, but they will be done by me. So nobody, on the other hand, can do and copy what I'm doing because they won't be them. So that's why when we do us, when we do me, then that's the way to go. But with that
Yes,
confidence, I think, and you're right, it's a kind of a daily job, right?
yes.
Because we always, if we listen to ourselves, what is triggering me? What is something that is making me maybe upset or anything like that? But it's just the perspective that I am good enough now. I'm absolutely perfect. And I am going to impact that world through whatever I choose to do, and it will be my way, it will be in my style, because nobody else is like me. And I think that's the beautiful awareness that will bring and call in so many amazing things into our lives, right? So,
Yes. And also also I love what you just said about doing you and like just owning that, right? Like just owning that you're doing you. But
yeah,
I also think that there's another part that I've discovered that I really want to share with people. So, I have my own business as well as you, like with the coaching. And like in January, I had like the most amazing month financially and everything went, so many things happened. But February wasn't the same. And years ago, I would have been like, look, I'm unlucky. It's not meant to be. Where because I've done the self love and the self confidence work, now I know, okay, I have to sit down and figure out what do I need to do for March. Like it's not about being lucky. It's got nothing to do with me personally. It's a business. And if I wanted to grow, I have to be able to stop thinking about or comparing or doing anything other than what does Georgette need to do in March to make the business grow again or to regain whatever it is that I'm looking for with my workshops and my book sales. So I think that's a beautiful thing too to think about. Like if something's not going right, it's not a negative thing. It just means pause, refocus, reframe, sit down and really make some goals and think about what do I need to do next? What will help me feel successful or loved or make me feel confident next? And just start working on that.
absolutely. And that's what I always tell people who, also come to my energy, and there is no competition at all.
Mm.
It just doesn't exist. I don't know, we just invented it. I've got to look better than somebody. I've got to be clever. I've got to be this and that. So that total, like, I don't know, the mood of being a high performer. It's a good thing on one hand, if you're really, really enjoying what you're doing. Yes, it's a natural thing to progress things, right? Without the progress, we cease to exist completely.
It's
And
true.
because we're all spiritual beings and in that experiencing that human life, the human experience. So it's all the wish of our spirit really to to have this ongoing progress of things and stuff. So the competition, I just don't believe that it exists at all, because like I said, we're all different, and we just need to keep going and doing it and thinking what else we could do, how much better things can be done. And like you said, if you need a little bit of a breathing space, you can just
Mm,
always stop for 5 seconds and just go, yeah, let me just see if I am aligned with everything that is happening, if something needs to be, just looked into.
mm,
So I always say it's like either two things. So one of the two things, either something that you're doing is not exciting enough. I'm actually talking about the goal. If it's not exciting enough, if something that doesn't, really make you get up in the morning and just say, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I love Mondays, for example. Tomorrow's about Monday. I've got so many plans and everything else, or the strategy is wrong. But as
Or,
soon as you just focused on those things, I think things are right.
or you just, I look at, I've changed my attitude completely lately because I just think it's so interesting when you, like you said, you've got to be passionate, but sometimes it's a challenge to be passionate when it's not going the way you want it to. But my new thing is, it's just a time of growth. Like I'm always learning. Like when things, like I just told you, like in February, when things weren't going as well as I wanted them to, I just kicked in reading about business and marketing and strategies. And every weekend I've been studying and I'm excited about it. I feel like there was nothing else I wanted to do on a weekend but read these books or to watch the YouTube videos and learn. So a couple of people check in with me all the time and they're always like, how many books did you sell this month? And I want to say it nicely to them, like, stop asking that because it's not about that. It's about growth. It's about learning. Sales are great and they're fine, but if they're not, it doesn't mean it's not a bad thing. It just means I'm going to figure it out. So it's like a new challenge. It's like a new way of looking at it. Like, and just it's not a bad thing. It's actually growth. And I think that you're either growing or you're dying, right?
Yeah.
You're either growing.
Yeah, there is no
So
thing as like,
yeah,
going back or sideways or anything. Because like I said, just cease to be like with all your aspirations and ambitions and everything else. Yeah, there are times when you just need to take a moment for
yeah.
yourself and do other things. But then again, it's also a part of self-love.
Mhm.
When there is even a routine to give yourself, I don't know, some spa experience or reading a book, like you said, and doing just nothing on your weekend or in the middle of the weekend or of the week. It doesn't matter. So, Georgette, what would be your message to people in terms of being in that beautiful energy of self-acceptance and self-love?
I would say that figure out what you want to do. Like figure out what you want, whether it's meeting someone, starting a business, or getting a promotion, whatever it is that you want. And then just take baby steps to work towards it. Even though you're scared, the only way to build your confidence, the only way to believe in yourself is to actually do what you're afraid of. And there's no greater feeling than practicing the skills that you're afraid to practice because the confidence that comes from that. And then when you have confidence, you take such better care of yourself. So it all ties in your belief system, your self-love, your self-confidence, they all tie in together. And for me, I have found that as I work on something continuously, I just feel so much better about myself. My boundaries are healthier and it just builds, how much I believe and love in myself. So that's what I highly recommend for people.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And there's such a beautiful profoundness in this too. Thank you so much for being our guest, and thank you for the wisdom and some valuable advice too. So happy to have you here.
Thank you. It was so wonderful to connect with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.